Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter. Our guest today is Dean Mercado, and this is Smart Business Moves.
Woohoo! Hey, Dean.
Why? What's going on?
Just a little Christmas cheer going on here today.
Exactly. The
Christmas
festivities are starting.
Yeah. Tom, how much have you had to drink so far?
Coffee. I've been drinking all day.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Good stuff will be coming shortly after this.
Okay, but look at this coffee cup, y'all. Can you see it?
That is nice.
Oh,
That is a nice cup.
It looks like those little dashes are see-through. You can see my coffee in there. It was hard to pour coffee in there the first time. I'm like,
You thought it was like a sieve it was going to pour out in your lap.
Yeah, it looked
it
like
doesn't look
holes.
like it. It looks like it's gonna. It didn't.
Right.
Are you drinking over there, Dean?
It's actually healthy stuff, but I usually like to have a little bit of tea before I do some speaking. So
Claire,
it's an actual
throat?
roasted dandelion root tea, and it's
Oh, wow.
fabulous. Yeah, it's
Supposed to be good
wow.
for your throat.
I've moved away from the coffee because the caffeine, it just as I get older, it's not jiving so well anymore. You know,
My coffee is decaf, but I drink a lot of it. I do.
Liz carries around like one of these pump dispensers with her. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, wow. You actually have one. That's wild.
No, I don't only have one. Tom, where's mine at your office?
Oh, yeah. She every place she hangs out, she has one.
I leave them there. Yeah.
There's a
Very cool.
tube that comes out of it, and it's a needle, and she puts it right in her arm, and it just kind of.
Hey, this way, wherever you go, people are prepared. There's no excuses.
That's right.
Have it ready.
That's right. I just had somebody send me a picture. I don't know if you can tell. This one's not as much, but she sent me a picture. She's like, Liz, I'm cleaning out. We're remodeling my kitchen. And I just found your dolphin pot. It does look like a dolphin.
A little bit, right? Now that you say it.
Yeah. Well, Dean, we are excited to have you on here. As you know, I mean, I talked to you already about this, that we had a lot of people at ISSA talking about how amazing your presentation was. They just loved it. Then I'm talking to Tom. Was that, I don't know, whenever we were talking, he asked me, did you see Dean's presentation? And I was like, no, I couldn't. I, wasn't able to go. He was like, it was really good. And Tom is not, he's not a flowery, oh, it was really good if it wasn't really good.
Right.
It was awesome. It was on the mark.
Awesome.
So we had a lot of fun in Vegas, didn't we?
Yeah, Vegas was cool.
That was
Vegas
a
was
good
very
group.
cool. And as always, because I'm not in your industry, I'm not in the cleaning industry. So when I see some of the new technologies and tools that are being unveiled, I'm blown away. Every time I go there, you're walking around and you're seeing these self-cleaning robot things going around, unbelievable what it's going to do for the industry in so many different ways.
So many cool things.
It's just a wow,
I agree. It is very cool. Very wow.
And Liz, you know what I learned about Dean when we were in Vegas? That he's no longer a Long Island, New York guy anymore. He's living here with me in South Carolina.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I did not know that. Where are you in South Carolina?
I'm on the other side of the state on the Northwest. I'm up in Greenville.
Oh,
by the mountains more.
So he's up with Troy.
Yeah, we know a good house cleaning company up your way.
That's a good thing. Very good thing. They should know me and I should know them. Definitely.
It's called Castle Keepers.
Yes. Yes. Whoever your rep is, whoever your person is up in this area, we should connect.
Okay. Come up with Troy.
I'm making a note.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I was just telling my wife about that the other day too. I'm like, I don't want to clean the house anymore.
Right.
You do it. I've only been down here a year. So you do it while you're just moving in. You're still settling in, but it's like, we're settled in now. I don't want to do that stuff anymore. There's people who do it better, faster, cheaper than I ever could. And my kids will love them for it because my kids hate helping.
And they will love that mom and dad are not saying, clean your room, clean your room.
Yes. Oh my goodness. But I do feel for them if they ever enter my daughter's room. They're gonna, every family probably has one of those, right? Oh my goodness.
They're professionals. They've seen a lot.
Hey, Roxanne.
I always try to remind everybody, hey, Roxanne, that, job security for us, we like a little dirt.
Yes.
So we are one profession that is not afraid of dirt. Please. When all the dirt is gone, what are we going to do? So
Right.
you don't have to worry about dirt with us.
Yes. I am very excited about your industry, though. And I've, as I've been hanging around this industry a long time and seen it really grow from its infancy stages to more of as they're entering into that young adult stage, what I would call it.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see. And I can only imagine what's going to happen in these next 10 years, in this industry.
Yeah.
It's going to be incredible and exciting.
Technology is going to certainly be a big part of the mix, which ties into what you presented in Vegas related to AI. I mean, you think about artificial intelligence, and a lot of it's kind of abstract and kind of out there, but you've got some real tangible tools that anybody who's running a house cleaning business can actually put to work and do something with today. And that was enlightening to me. I mean, I know a little bit, but I know that I learned a lot, and the audience was blown away.
I'm dying to know. Share. Let's go. Let's go.
Well, that speaks volumes, and I appreciate that kind of feedback because, when I went there, and that's always my game and my way of being. It's like, you've got to bring it. You've got to bring it. You're there, and you've got all these great people in the room. Give them something they can actually do right now, something that can actually move the needle. And
but Dean, everybody is thinking that. All the presenters are thinking that. The audience is usually a harsher critic, right?
Yeah,
They're usually
they can be.
Yeah. Yours is all over. Your audience was like, wow, he really brought it. Like,
that's cool.
So good. Yeah.
That is very cool. And that's very exciting. And, when I hear things like that, it just makes me want to bring more. There's so much to talk about, especially when we get into the concepts of AI, automation. The whole playing field has changed. And the slide deck I have loaded here for us today, I moved it forward a little bit to a slide that maybe we could take a peek at real quick to just kind of set the stage. As I mean, it's no secret, the three of us have been around a little while. We've been in business for a while. We've seen a lot of things come and go over the years. And I could say with all confidence, AI is not going anywhere. Matter of fact, it's exponentially growing daily. It's not even like how the internet came into the scene and it was great. And it took a little while for things to kind of pick up and people to grasp it. And this is not one of those things.
Yeah.
This is either you get on board or you are behind. Right. So this one, if any of these resonate, these are what I call the key business disruptors over the last 50 years, my lifetime, right? Where we saw personal computing come into the scene. I remember getting my first computer and it was like, wow, a computer in my house? How awesome is this, And then the internet came in and it changed businesses. And the internet really is only, for the most of the business world, the last 20 to 30 years is where the business world started to really grasp it a little bit. I remember when I first started Online Marketing Muscle a little over 20 years ago, I got laughed at. You're starting an internet business? Why would you start an internet business? We thought you were smart. The internet is a fad. That's just a fad. You must be an idiot,
Wow.
Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My wife either. We were like, all right, well, hey.
It was a curiosity anyway. It's kind of like, does your cleaning business have a website? And it was almost like, well, do you really need one? What's the point?
You need a yellow page ad. You don't need a website.
Exactly. And the way things are moving now and at the speed things are moving now. And I'm going to use that word speed a lot. And by the way, every year when I do my planning for my own company, there's usually a word that bubbles up to the top that becomes our mantra, our focus for the year. And in 2025 for Online Marketing Muscle, that word is speed. Because if you don't come out with blazing fast speed in 2025 with everything you do, again, your competition's not sleeping. right? The bigger behemoth companies that see the cleaning industry as this big cash cow that, we saw Amazon try and step into the space years ago. You remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like, that's not the end of that. That's going to continue to happen because there's so much money in this industry right now, as you got the dual income households. People are starting to get lazy. They don't want to do it anymore. Whatever their reasons are. And I've got a lot of them why I think this is such a great industry and why I keep hanging around it. Those are just a few of them. But, through these years, we saw e-commerce and online payment systems come on, and smartphones, and then mobile technology changed the game again. Social media came into play, game changer on how all marketing was happening. Then came artificial intelligence to the rest of us. And I say to the rest of us because I have this distinct feeling that a lot of these technologies existed long before we got access to them.
Yeah.
And there were players using them, tapping them long before they gave it to us. So now we don't have any excuse because it's been made available to us. Now it's up to us in terms of what do we do with it? And it's not like you can kind of do the ostrich thing and stick your head in the sand and say, you know what, maybe it'll go away. Maybe it'll just stop. Or you know what, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing because it's working. Yeah, for now, maybe it is. And I would never tell you to stop doing something that's working. Right? But you do always have to be looking down the road. What's next? What's next? What's coming? Right? So that's a big slide I wanted to point out. AI is that big game changer. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. In my lifetime, it is the game changer. Right? There's never been a simpler time in history to build, grow, and scale. Right? So we all talk about wanting to grow and scale our business. This is the time. It's never been easier. It will never get easier, at least not probably in the next 10 or so years, right? AI is that technology that's going to change everything we're doing, from how we do the actual work we're doing, to how we market ourselves, to how we sell, to how we do all of our financials, right? It's insane how every single thing is going to change. How your website is and acts and behaves and what it does. Game changer, folks. So a couple of quotes from different high-end people who've been playing in this field a while. I won't hang too long on it, but I'm not the only one screaming this from the rooftops. That's the point I want to make with that slide. Right?
Salesforce came out today and announced like 2.0 of their sales agent, and it's actually on their website. If you want to see something amazing, just go to salesforce.com or go to help.salesforce.com. They do their support with their agent too. A lot of people sell them, but companies that sell them don't necessarily use them. Salesforce does, and they're doing some really cool stuff.
And, one of the benefits that I always felt by coming out of big corporate America, I spent about a dozen years after my college time. And the first dozen years, I got to work for some great companies, some of the best on the planet. Companies like EDS, which was the premier consulting company organization around the world, 140,000 strong, right? I was running multi-million dollar projects around the globe. Pretty cool to be able to get involved and do that and learn from the best.
You were hanging out with the folks down in Dallas?
Say again?
They were in Dallas, weren't they?
Yeah, they were based out of Dallas. That was Ross Perot's company.
Yeah,
Ross Perot's baby back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then HP bought them years later. After I had left, HP bought them and the company was gone.
It all went downhill after you left, right?
Yeah, pretty much so. Must have been, right? But it was to work for companies like that. And Underwriters Labs was another company I got to work for that was world-class when it came to systems and ISO 9000 and just doing things better, right? Doing things better, improving the way things work. Now, the benefit that brought me and that it brings my clients, my audience, is that I bring a lot of those ideas, thoughts, technologies, tools to the small business world now. Because the big difference that I was seeing between small and big business, they were doing things better than the small business community was, right? And most of that is because we were all wearing too many hats in the small business world. We weren't systematizing our businesses well enough. We didn't know our numbers, Oh, that drives me crazy as a coach. Does it drive you too crazy when you bump into
Oh.
people, they have no idea what their numbers are?
If you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay. I'll tell you what makes me crazier, Dean, is when I give you a tool to manage your numbers and I say, here, put this number here, put this number here, put this number here, and now we can talk about your numbers. And they don't put this number here or there or anywhere.
Hey, it's like you can't help people who truly don't want to help themselves. That's really what it always is going to come down to, right? And it's
although I do love Made Central's new, I gotta say, Tom, I know I talk about this a lot, but I do love Made Central's core KPI dashboard. That has made my life so much better as the coach in the circles, because people can get those numbers so easily now. Just like
You just click a button. You just click a
Yeah,
button. You know,
so easy.
that
No
was one of the
excuse.
reasons too, Dean, that the large companies were better because they had better tools. They had
Yes.
they had access to technology that small businesses didn't have. But that's changed. It's been
That's right.
democratized.
That's
The whole
right.
point of your discussion is we all have access to these wonderful AI tools.
Yes. And tools like Made Central. So it's like if you're really looking to change and compete on a much higher level, level that playing field, folks. It doesn't have to be so hard, right? I always say business is simple, but it's not easy. You've got to be willing to do the things. You got to be willing to get in the mud. Hello, Ellie. Good to see you.
Ellie.
So yeah, get in the mud. It's okay. Business is simple, but it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
But I always warn people, keep in mind, AI is just a technology, right? And there are new AI tools popping up all the time that help you leverage that technology. Part of the minefield you're stepping into is you've got to learn how to navigate that. And I'm going to show you a slide with just a small handful of the AI tools we're playing with. Boom, there you go. There's a small handful of some of the ones we play with in my company, whether it's ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Claude, right? Or Napkin. Some of the imagery you see in this slide deck today were created using Napkin, right?
I've never heard of Napkin.
Yeah, I mean, Napkin, Gamma is a great tool for creating presentations. Zoom, I use it all the time in my coaching. And along with Otter AI, you could use these tools to actually summarize the coaching session and send forward the action items for your coaching client. I mean, there's no excuse anymore.
Yeah.
This stuff is all there. It's like I look at this list of tools, and with just a little bit of time invested to learn how to use them a little bit, it's like having another 50 people on my team because I'm able to do things I could never do before, right? I might have been well-intentioned and I wanted to do them and I knew what I wanted to do, but I would be frustrated because I wasn't able to get them done.
Too much. Just
it's too
many
much.
things to do. Yeah.
Right? Exactly. It's like I look at Loom. Loom is one of the greatest tools when it comes to training up my team. Training anybody who's there to help me. Show, don't tell, right? Whenever we could show, we show, right? Perplexity you see on there. Tools like Perplexity are going to blow away the search engines. The search engines, as you know them today, are changing. People are going to AI and asking ChatGPT their questions as opposed to going to Google and Googling it. So now when we talk SEO, and marketing is something I'm very passionate about, especially online marketing, you better adjust your SEO scheme, how you're approaching SEO in your company, because you've got to know what people are doing to find you and to find people like you, people who can help them solve whatever their problem is.
The whole psychology is going to change from search engine optimization to like answer engine optimization. I don't want to be searching for anything. I just want the answer.
That's right. So I produced another little list, and I'll share some of those with you folks here today, of the new skills that we have to start really ramping up. And just to ramble a few of them to you, prompt engineering. It's something I'll talk about today, right? But it's something you need to know how to engineer a prompt when you're asking AI to do anything for you. Learning how to ask in a way that will get you the results you're looking for is critical. And I will actually give you a formula today on how to ask the ChatGPTs and the Copilots and the Geminis and Claudes on how to get what you really want to get. I want you to look at it like a genie in a bottle, right? Or a genie in a lamp. You find this lamp and you rub it and the genie pops out, right? Now, the genie says, I grant you 3 wishes. Now, as we watch cartoons back in the day when I was younger, like the Looney Tunes stuff, you'd see how they always ask for just not enough detail and end up getting something completely different or abstract or something that hurts them or whatever.
Yeah.
That's how AI works. The clearer you are and the more specific you are about what it is you want, the more likely you are to get it.
And you know, the really cool thing about that is it's kind of going full circle. It used to be, you know, the science and the math and learning how to code and, you know, all that's still important, but
Yes.
being able to communicate and write prompts. I mean, if you got a kid today, it's kind of figuring out what they want to do when they grow up. You know, becoming a prompt engineer is really a hot job. And it's the English majors. It's the people that can like put a thought together in a nuanced way. I mean, those folks are making a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Which is so funny too, because for the longest time, you're an English major. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to make any money?
That's right. It's incredible. And it's, as I pointed out at the ISSA show numerous times to a lot of people, and I'll point it out here again today, the only limitations are the ones we set on ourselves and our own thinking here. And this is where the creatives, the real right brain folks, you could have a field day with this stuff. The only limitations are your creative genius to think of another way to use this stuff. How do I do this? Right? This slide deck we're looking at here, I created in record time. I put this slide deck together a couple of days before I did the show in the ISSA. Now, I know my stuff, so I can, you know, verbally get it out there pretty quickly. But with the use of numerous different tools helping me pull it all together easier, faster, there was not one other human that helped me with this. It was me with AI doing it in record timing. Now I've put together slide decks of this size, and this is a big slide deck. It's about 80, 90 slides. You know, I've put together slide decks like that, and it took me weeks.
You remember the day when we would like put together an RFP and put it out on Fiverr, looking for somebody to help us come up with a graphic or you know, build a deck.
Oh yes.
What else is happening to Fiverr's business model? I mean, this has to be putting a lot of those folks out of business, right?
Yes, I would imagine you're going to get a lot of people putting out that they could do prompt engineering. You're going to find people out there on Fiverr selling their prompt engineering skills, right? Because with things like you're mentioning, Tom, like you could produce a presentation with Gamma, an AI tool. It'll do the whole thing for you. You just tell it a few things. You give it a few specifics and boom, it'll produce the entire presentation, the whole slide deck. Now, is it perfect? No. Is it as good as you, Liz? Probably not. Most definitely not. But you know what? If you infuse enough Liz into it, it will be pretty damn good. And then it'll get you 80% of the way there. And then you take it from there and bring it home.
And really, you start with something that's 80% there. You add in your 50%.
That's right.
Right. On top of that, you're going to get 30% better than you had before. So you are going to have.
That's right. And based on what you two were telling me earlier on, that people thought the presentation at the ISSA event was great, then I'm living proof, folks.
Yeah.
Because this is what I do. This is what I did. This is what I do. You know, I'm always on the lookout. And one big keyword you'll hear from me all the time is the word leverage. You need to find leverage on yourself, on your business, on your employees, on anybody who touches your business in any way, on the technologies, on the tools. You need to find leverage because you want to scale. Scale requires massive leverage, not a little bit, a massive amount. And it requires tremendous thinking, way beyond where most of us are thinking now. Most of us grow incrementally, right? And that's why, because that's how we think. Well, if I grow 5% this year, that's a pretty darn good year. Yeah, okay. Well, if you're happy with that, fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And I want to make that point too. There's nothing wrong with anything you create for yourself in that way, if that's what you want.
Yeah.
But if truly in your heart of hearts, if you check in and your gut and your heart are telling you, yeah, I really would wish I had this much more. I wish I would have grown 50%, or I wish I had these extra 5 people on my team. Well, then you owe it to yourself and the team and your clients to do a little better here. Get a little more creative, right? So I wanted to make sure everybody saw some of these, right? Because immensely powerful. And a lot of tools, like you see Canva's up there. Canva's not full on AI, but Canva's built so much AI into it now that you don't have to be the greatest graphic designer in the world anymore. And between the templates they have and the AI they have, you can create some amazing graphic work.
Yeah, and the secret to some of that, Dean, is oftentimes it's easier to grow faster and bigger than it is to grow 5%. You just have to be
Great
open
point.
to change.
Yes.
You have to be willing to do things differently or try to do things differently.
That is an immensely great point, Tom. And I hope everybody out there heard that, because it takes the same amount of energy and sometimes more to keep doing this.
To grow less.
Yeah. So it's like, you know what? Look to the people who've been there, done that already. Model, learn to model. What are other people doing that are working? And I can tell you, this is one of them, right? All of this. Now, do you need to use all of these tools? No. And I would be the first one to tell you, don't do that. It all starts with figuring out, what do you want to solve? What's the problem you want to fix? What's the enhancement you're looking to add? Pick one thing. And then we'll match the right tool to that thing. And we'll learn how to prompt engineer it properly to get that thing solved, to get that thing fixed, embellished, enhanced, whatever it is, right? It's not about getting into overwhelm immediately by thinking you have to all of a sudden be a master at all of this stuff. I've made that mistake already. Don't do that. It's not a good thing. It's not a good look on us either, right?
Well, and for a lot of us, if we're just getting started, you don't have to do it all. Just get started, because there's a ton of people out there that aren't doing anything.
That's right.
And a little is better.
That's right. And I would always say, to add on to that, Liz, I would say, number one, there's always somebody who could do it better, faster, cheaper than us. Always, right? It's like, why would I want to create, if I'm a residential cleaning company, why would I want to go through all the pain of creating those financials, those reports I need, when I could just plug the numbers into Made Central and boom, I've got the numbers. And at some point, folks, we've got to wake up and say, you know what? We're the bottleneck in the company. We're the ones holding it back, right? It's, yes, these tools are an investment. Yes, but they're an investment in you. Yes, bringing on the right consultants, the right coaches to help you in the different areas you need help in. It's just going to shortcut the process for you. It's like, if you keep going along where you're going along, yeah, maybe you'll get there, but maybe it'll take you 10 years. And I look at that and I say, all the lost revenue, right?
Can you say that again, though, that we're the bottleneck? I mean,
yes.
how often do you hear that, well, you don't understand, my situation's different. It's this, it's that, it's the customer, it's the people, it's the, it's the competitive forces, it's the market, the economy, just head trash.
That's right. That's the exact right word for it. It's all head trash. And it's, unless you're willing to let that stuff go, how dare you expect anything different from yourself or your business or anyone on your team? Seriously. This is where, and I've experienced this in my own business a number of times. I'm the kind of guy that applauds that point in time in my business when I recognize that I'm the bottleneck at that point. I've been the bottleneck in my business 100 different times. That just means I'm growing and my business is growing. And then I have people around me to help me identify that I'm bottlenecking it right now. Okay, great. Well, let's talk about, how do I get past that? What's next? You know, that's a good sign if you treat it that way. If you linger in that stuff, that muck, then, you know, you get what you deserve.
So I'm creating a training right now, Dean, to this point, because if you ask anybody, right, like what's the biggest problem in your business, especially in our industry, they've all heard it. They'll say, I'm the biggest problem, right? I got to get out of my own way. I'm the bottleneck. They all say that, but they don't know how they're the bottleneck. They don't know what they need to change. They don't know what they need to do differently because they have the buts.
That's right.
They don't all say it, and some of the ones that say it don't really believe it. They're just saying it because they know that's what they're supposed to say.
Because they know it's the right answer, but they have no idea how. Like I know a ton of people that I work with that are like, "Oh, I'm the problem. I'm the bottleneck." Okay, so tell me how you're the bottleneck. Well, you know, I'm not. They don't have any kind of specific understanding of how they're the bottleneck. They're like, well, I'm just holding everything back and I'm not able to, you know, get the company to grow. Why? What are you doing? What are you doing wrong? How are you the bottleneck? They don't know. Every once in a while, I did actually just talk with somebody, and I'm going to give you props on this, Natalie. She said, I'm too much of a perfectionist. So I want to get everything perfect before I let anybody else do anything with it. So high five on to you, Natalie. But even recognizing it sometimes is hard to let it go.
Right.
Like, again, she still had a but, right? The but is still, how do you?
Yeah. I remember many years ago, I got some great harsh coaching. And it was when I was still in corporate America and I was running a division and we were running an enormous project and something was going sour on the project. And I went to a peer of mine and I was asking, he wasn't involved with this, but he's been there, done that. And I remember asking him his advice, how he'd handled it. He gave me great advice. And then I went back and I didn't implement it. And the problem got worse and exacerbated, and shame on me. And then I went, and next time I saw this guy again, he handed me my head, you know, and he said, you know, don't ever come to me for advice again if you're not going to use it. You know, you just wasted my time, you know, as he was a very expensive resource. And it's a harsh reality sometimes that we've got to step into. Now, you know, if you're working with a coach and your coach has been there, done that, and they recommend something to you, you owe it to at least talk it through. If you feel it doesn't fit, let's talk about why. You know, maybe we could find something else that will fit, but we can't be delusional about it either. We've got to make sure that we recognize, and we're not sitting there saying, yeah, I'm the problem. I know I'm the problem. And they're just going to wallow in that. Well, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? I mean, we could sit here and complain all day, you know?
Yeah.
Doesn't work for me, right? We got the violins going. Doesn't work for me.
I was talking to somebody last week who kept saying, I know I'm the bottleneck. I know I'm the problem. But then every other sentence out of her mouth is about how the, what are they called? Trunk slammers in her area. There's way more than anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that a derogatory term nowadays? I hope not, y'all.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Hope not, y'all. Sorry if it is. But they will use, you know, they'll say, but in my area, I have this problem.
Yeah. As if they're completely unique.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, hey, look, a service business is a service business is a service business. I don't care what your service is. And that's what I always say. Yeah, there's little nuances, but you know what? Bottom line is we all market, we all sell, we all deliver on whatever it is we said we were going to deliver on, you know, and, you know, for us to sit back and think that we're so special that our business is completely unique. Come on. Really? I mean, you might have fooled me 20, 30 years ago, but at this point in time, dealing with thousands of entrepreneurs over the years as I have, I don't fall for that one anymore. I've been there enough. I've done that enough. I tried doing that too. I tried pulling that shenanigan myself. My coaches, you know, every coach has a coach, right? Or coaches, I always say. And I got that one handed to me in a big way as well over the years. And it's like, you know, come on. Do you really want to succeed or don't you? That's what it's going to come down to. Do you really want...
Oh, you know, sorry, Dean.
Please.
Oh, finish your thought. I'm so sorry. I thought you had stopped.
That's okay. That thought is come and
yeah.
gone.
I killed
Let's
you
move
there.
on.
Sorry.
But ultimately, you know, for most of our audience here, we are the CEOs of our business, and
Yes.
our job description is really kind of narrow, but the biggest thing on there is setting strategy, right?
Right.
And regardless of what the competitive forces are and all the issues and challenges, we can choose our strategy. And there's a strategy for every problem that you can imagine. It's just a
Yes.
matter of developing it, and you have to execute, which kind of gets back into the AI part of it, because AI can be useful in shaping your strategy, and it certainly is useful in helping you execute it.
That is correct. And one of the skills I mentioned earlier that I was going to mention a few skills, and one of them is learning how to use AI to help you strategize. Right? It's a sounding board for you. Right?
I do that, Dean.
I do.
I
Yeah.
do that. I mean, I I'm using AI multiple times a day, and a lot of it is just that. Questions that I have in my head that problems I'm trying to solve. More and more, I'm just going in and I'm asking AI engines, "Hey, this is the situation. This is what I'm dealing with. This is the
Right.
context. Give me 10 possible, you know, solutions," and just keep, you know, tweaking it. Well, what about this? And it's nothing else. It's just another really smart person that you can be bouncing ideas off of. It's crazy.
Exactly. Exactly. Ultimately, you get to decide if you're going to use any of that strategy at all, right? But again, AI is only as effective as the person using it. So if you feed good intel into it about strategy, you're going to get good response back. If you give it a bigger, broader picture, a more specific picture, I should say, actually, you know, it's going to give you more specific, precise output. And that's what you're looking for, right? Remember, the AI at this point has read and digested most of the internet in its entirety.
Crazy.
So, I mean, you're talking about, you know, genius minds out there, right? And it's learning how to remove the garbage too. And you got the Googles of the world, the big search engine, they're removing a lot of the junk off the internet every day because there are a lot of crazies out there. I hate to say it that way too. You got to be careful who you listen to, right? But again, if you know your stuff, even remotely, and you prompt it and talk to it like Tom, like you were saying, chances are you're going to get something useful that'll at least steer you in the right direction. So, okay, I'll go with that strategy. I'll pick the number 3 out of the 10. Number 3 is seems like a great approach. Let's flesh that one out a little bit more.
When you're stumped, when you feel like it, you really just don't have a path forward, or you don't know what to do, or don't know how to solve a problem, it's crazy. It'll, you know, once it gives you ideas, it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Wow, I never thought of that though.
Right. Oh, so right. And
okay, so I see that Roxanne's got a couple of questions up here, and sure. we're leaving them up here because we're going to get them answered for you. But it's tough. We have a lot to say here, Roxanne. Can you see the one that she has up here right now?
I mean, suggesting any AI training, that one?
Yeah.
Roxanne, I'm biased. You know, I would say, I mean, it's a self-promo. I would say you should be calling me and ask me about workshops that we might be putting on AI going into 2025, because we are. And I'm always the kind of person that says, you always should be looking for the fastest path to cash. What is the fastest path to get you what you want as quickly as possible? It doesn't matter how much something costs you. It matters how much it makes you. And that is always the mindset for anyone who wants to grow or scale. I'll say that again. Doesn't matter how much something costs you. It matters how much it makes you. And as a CEO of your company, you have to be able to frame that for yourself. If you frame that properly, then you look at investments as investments, and not every investment is going to pan out, but you've got to give that investment the right opportunity to pan out, right? A lot of people will just buy into a tool and then they'll throw it on the shelf and not log in. Tom, you could probably tell us stories there where people, they might subscribe to Made Central, but then you look at it and they haven't logged in 3 weeks. Well, then how do you expect the tool to help you?
Right.
Or you're not plugging in any of your sales data. Well, how do you expect the tool to help you?
It's like that Peloton that sits over in the corner as a clothes rack.
Yes, exactly. Collecting dust,
That's true,
right?
though.
And
We
Kevin
all
is
have
right.
it.
You have to make it happen. You have to make it happen. I remember my wife and I were talking about this the other day because we're starting to do our year-end stuff where we're reflecting and planning what we're building and doing for next year. And we looked back 15, 16, 17 years ago when we invested in programs that we looked at ourselves and we were like, we must have been crazy at that time. We were like, we spent money we didn't have. But we were bold enough at the time to realize that there was something we didn't know and we wanted the fastest path to cash. We wanted to get there better, faster, cheaper. And I knew that I could eventually learn it. I'm smart enough, like most everybody here is. But the smart person doesn't sit by and learn it slowly. You go to somebody who's been there, done it, and get it from there. You take what they gift you, and I use the word gift on purpose, and you take it up another notch. You give it your flair, your flavor. So, Liz, if you're giving them a spreadsheet and they're not even plugging in the numbers, I mean, come on, folks. Take that spreadsheet, plug in the numbers, see it work. And then what you do is tweak that spreadsheet to be even more powerful. Take the spreadsheet up a notch. But you don't do that until you use the bare bones product.
Got to get started.
Yeah, get started. It's not about saying, well, the spreadsheet doesn't have all the fancy colors on it, so it's not good. No, I don't care about that.
You see that a lot. You see that a lot, Dean. There's like people want to paint their own masterpiece. They want to invent the better mousetrap. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for God's sakes, don't start at zero. Take the best practices, learn from everybody else that's doing it. Take the best practices and then make it a little bit better.
That's right. That's right. I always say that every great person stands on the shoulders of some great person before them. I was at an event right after the Vegas one. I went over to Arizona, and I got to sit in the audience with one of my mentors speaking, Jay Abraham. Now, many, many years ago, Jay, for me, shaped a lot of how I approach things. A lot of my strategy, piggybacks off of and had grown from things I learned from Jay. One of the most brilliant business strategists I think that ever existed. And getting to hear him in person, that was like a bucket list thing for me because I've been on the phone with him because I was in one of his programs and I got the dialogue with him, but I never saw him in person, so that was kind of a nice thing for me. But again, we all stand on the shoulders of somebody, right? All those books you read, Liz, you stand on the shoulders of every author you've digested their books, right? Over the years.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's about being smart. It's not about making this any harder than it needs to be. Like Tom, like you pointed out, it's not about starting at square zero. You'd have to be crazy to do that. Look and say, you know what? This tool already has what I need. Let's start there. And then if there's anything else I need, I can have dialogue with that person and say, hey, can you add these features? These functions
that AI
better. Yeah. How
So
about we add this to that?
Back to Roxanne's question, I dropped the link to your website in chat, and we'll get to that before we wrap today. But you can probably figure a lot of what you would learn from Dean out on your own. But what's that going to cost you, and how much time are you going to spend doing that? And
that's when I came to the ISSA show, that was part of my intention, was to really bring it in a way that you actually can see it being applied in your own business. It was real. The information we were using was real. I use this stuff with my coaching clients every day. So I know it works. I've gone in and redid the whole SOP package of several clients, redoing all of their SOPs, right? By feeding in what they already have and then giving it some more wisdom and then having it spit back out to us something that was better. And this stuff is real. It's only limited by us. If we are that short-sighted, then we get what we deserve, but it is about tapping in.
And I think you said you were going to show us some prompts too, right?
Oh yeah. Let's fast forward a little bit. Okay. Right. Just for that, AI is neither good nor evil. Just so that you all know that. It's not the Terminator coming in right now to eradicate humanity. That's not what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. This stuff is coming whether you like it or you don't. It just is. And it's infiltrated the business world, and it will only do more so over time. And you could see here, I was pointing out about being a master prompt engineer, right? Very critical. And it still amazes me to this day. You know, and I know both you, Tom and Liz, you bump into cleaning companies every day. It still amazes me how many of these cleaning companies don't have anyone on their team who understands automation, AI, and these kind of technologies. Nobody there helping them. They're quick to add that person who can book a cleaning. Well, that's great. You know, however, who's automating some of this stuff for you? So that if you want to scale, you know, what happens? Obviously, that person in your office starts getting overwhelmed over time. You know, they can't handle all the phone calls coming in. You know, we're creating bottlenecks that don't need to be there anymore. We need to think bigger if you really do want to scale. Scaling is not growing. Growing is not scaling. I look at them as two different things. Growing is this. And there is a slide in this deck that talks about this, where growing to me is incremental. Incremental, right? Where scaling is exponential. It's a big difference. And the mindset that incrementally grows is not the same mindset that exponentially scales.
Yeah.
Right? When you think of, you both had cleaning companies when you first started, and you were just making, you know, low six figures at the time, right? That mindset got you to that point, and that was great and brilliant for the time. But it's not the same mindset that you needed when you were running a seven-figure business.
And you know, Dean, that gets back to, you know, being the CEO and the strategy part of this. You can grow by accident, but you have to have a strategy and you have to execute to scale.
That's right. Bingo. That is well said. Can you say that again? I think everyone needs to hear that again.
You can grow by accident, but if you want to scale, you have to have a real strategy and you have to execute. You have to be the CEO that your business needs you to be.
If you get nothing else out of this conversation today, folks, heed those words, because we're fooling ourselves if we think it's anything different than that. You know, what got you here will not get you there.
Just
right? It might help you. It might help you, but it won't get you there, right? So become that master prompt engineer. Here's the formula that we created at Online Marketing Muscle.
I love this. This is great.
And this is what it lends some framework to all of this. It brings some sanity to the chaos. The first thing we need to do is we need to communicate a persona. Who am I being? And the next slides in this slide deck break it all down. So I will give everybody a chance at the end. If they want this slide deck, I'll keep it up for a little while longer on my website where you could snatch it. Do yourself a favor and snatch it before I take it down. These slides and these concepts come from that workshop that I talk about with AI. This is all from that. It's a multi-day workshop, right? So you've got to tell it who you're trying to be. Right? So I might give it a persona that looks something like this. Right? What role do we want AI to be on our behalf? So I might tell it, think like a PR professional or a brand journal, a brand strategist, a journalist, etc. Right? Or one I use a lot in your industry, the CEO of an 8-figure residential cleaning company. I use that a lot when I'm building stuff. Not a 6-figure or a 7-figure. And I do that on purpose because if I'm in 7 figures already and I'm trying to get to 8, I need to think differently. I need to think like an 8-figure guy is thinking or an 8-figure gal is thinking, not like I used to think when I was getting into 7 figures, right? So I might say, think like a PR professional experienced in crafting press releases for small businesses. And I break this further. Then I go into the second component of this formula is you've got to give the AI context. What are the background details? You've got to set the stage so that it understands where you're coming from and it will refine its response to you based on that, right? So I might say, we're a cleaning business that just won Best Cleaning Company in whatever your neighborhood name is by whatever the publication's name is, right? I could even give it the publication's name and website because AI now could go out to that website and go look and bring that intel back to the response. Holy cow, folks. Did you hear what I just said?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't have to write it all. I could point it and bring it in. I could even upload PDFs and documents to this. I do it all the time where I'll say, when I'm creating an SOP, I upload my template and say, hey, I'm going to upload my template right in here. Write the SOP using my template. Now, what does that mean? I don't have to go and recreate it. It put it right in the same way I like it, right? So we take to the third element, the task. What's the task you want it to do, right? So what's the specific action? What's the specific outcome that you're aiming for? And I use the word outcome on purpose because it's very important to always specify what's the outcome. What am I looking to have happen here? Right? So write a press release that announces our award win, highlights our dedication to excellence, and strengthens our reputation in the local market. I told her, write me a press release. I'm not just going to AI and say, hey, write me a press release for an award we just won. Yeah, okay. I'm going to get something very generic and bland back. But if I feed it these 8 elements that I'm showing you, this was number 3. Here's 4. Give it an example. Do you have an example of a perfectly written press release? Right? Take one from a press release expert. Plug that in. Right? You plug that in, you're going to end up with something much better because you're showing the AI what you want. Lead by example, I always say. Right? Then the format. You tell it if there's any specific formatting you want. You know, formatted with a headline, a subheading, opening statements, body text, and a closing call to action. You know, I use this all the time, and specifically when I'm using it to write stuff for me. Anything that I'm asking it to write for me, I always want to tell it, you know, kind of what I want. You know, use this tone, do this, you know, lay it out that way. Then my voice.
It's iterative too. The cool thing is you can just tell it, okay, I don't like that. You know, do bullet items. No. Put it in a paragraph. So it's an iterative thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And that's a great way.
Get excited.
Yeah, you're spot on. And the more we recognize that, it's like having the best possible freaking assistant you could ever afford.
Yeah.
Right? And never talks back. Never gets tired. They'll go at this with you all night long if you've got the energy for it. You know, how do you beat that? Yeah. Right? But again, keeping it perspective.
Pizza. You don't have to provide pizza.
Yeah, yes, you're right. I just wanted to get me to 80%. I'm realistic in understanding that I'm going to have to put my final touches on it. To think anything else at this stage of where AI is, you're fooling yourself. Don't let anybody make you think that this is a magic pill, because it's not. You're still going to have to take this and add a little bit more of your flair, right? A lot of times that first iteration, Tom, like you're pointing out, maybe it doesn't use some examples I want. Or I think of some, oh yeah, you know what? This scenario that I had, this case study, you know, and then I'll go back at it and say, hey, include this case study of mine. You know, rewrite it and include this, work this in. I'll use the word weave. I'll say, weave this in. And it usually will do a great job, right? So the voice is an area where I spend a lot of time in our workshops. This is an area I spend a lot of time with people. Because one of those big skills I talked about, I'm naming a bunch of skills you got to refine. You've got to refine in 2025 how to use AI to really further develop your personal and your brand. Both your personal brand and your company's brand. AI is genius for that. But unless you define it, it's going to make you sound like everybody else. Yeah. When I use AI, it writes my stuff sometimes better than I do. And that's a blow to my ego sometimes because I've been writing for decades. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I've got an MBA. I'm a pretty good writer at this point. I've got a best-selling book behind me. You know, I know how to write, but sometimes it sounds more like me than I do.
Think about how many copies you could have sold if you had AI helping you.
Tell me about it. I would have had the book done in a weekend, and that instead of a year and a half. But I wouldn't trade that experience that I received of doing that in over a year and a half for anything, because that was the biggest learning point in my career, was going at it with my co-author who was a business coach, 20 years my senior. And to put his brain and mine together was one of the most wonderful experiences. but really working to generate and figure out what your voice is. How do you want to sound? How do you want to show up? What are the precise words that you need to feed the AI to make sure it's gonna put out something that sounds the way you want to sound?
We're pressing on the top of the hour here, Dean. If you got a couple more of these.
Yeah, let's finish these 8. We got the timeline, right? Where it's like, you've got to make sure if there are any specific timelines that need to be communicated, that you're telling it that, right? So it understands, right? And then key points. Is there anything else it needs to know? Any point that you want to make sure it understands and it's factoring in. Like if I'm doing some AI and I'm doing some prompt engineering around analyzing somebody's sales situation, right? And we do that. We'll plug in the sales data and a lot of the stuff, and we'll have it help us lay out a game plan for sales strategy for the upcoming year, right? So any key points we wanted to know, we plug that in as well. So we put it all together in one mega prompt. There's those 8 things in one mega prompt, right? Where it's like, think like a BR president. Here's the context, here's the task, here's the exemplar, here's the format, here's the voice, the timeline, the key points. And that's a prompt that I would feed a ChatGPT or a Claude, and I would get out of that something very good, right? Now, even this is not as detailed as I would go, but you can only fit so much on a slide. You know what I mean? I would give it more example, right? I would give it a sample, right? And I would give it some more key points.
So the material you're sharing here is part of a much bigger presentation that's like comprised in this slide deck. And this is a download. You're giving this away?
Yeah.
Where?
Anybody bold enough to go get it? And I'm not going to keep it up there for long. I'll go to the end of the slide deck. It's mentioned right at the end of this, and I didn't even get into scaling. You know, so much we could talk about, especially with you two. So much we could talk about. You know,
we'll have to come back.
You could see how much is in here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's where you can grab the slides.
AI slides. All right.
Right? onlinemarketingmuscle.com/AI slides, no spaces, all lowercase. Grab them. Grab them. There are a lot of examples in here, a lot of samples that you could plug right in and use today. Not next week, not next month. You know, the 3 of us got on here to try and help you folks. Right? This is great information. I know it is. I use it myself. I use it with my clients. And I can tell you it's useless. It's worth nothing if you don't use it. So I'm challenging all of you within 15 minutes of this conversation, when you jump off today, besides commenting and making sure you tell Tom and Liz, give them feedback, and, go and implement one thing from anything Tom, myself, or Liz mentioned here today. One thing. That's it. That starts changing the trajectory of what your future becomes. Get in the habit of doing that, and your future becomes way different, way better. You get where you want to go much faster. Trust me. I've been doing this a long time. I got my rear end kicked a million times over, right? I don't ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do. That's really what it comes down to. And I'm trying to help you shortcut the learning curve.
Making it hard doesn't make it better.
That's right. That's right. Matter of fact, shame on us for trying to fool ourselves. Oh, do we really think that we're that stupid? You know, I'm going to fool myself like that. I'm not that dumb anymore. And I would suggest that you tell yourself that too. You're not that dumb anymore. None of us are. We're learning every day. You were here today. You were listening to this. That in itself is a great first step, right? But implement something, please, because knowledge without implementation is useless.
So
clutter, right?
All right.
So the first thing you want to do is to go to onlinemarketingmuscle.com/AI slides and take advantage of Dean's gracious offer. I mean, this is gold here, and put it to work.
Yeah.
We are past the top of the hour, but it's okay because we did some good stuff here today.
Yeah, really great. Thank you so much, Dean.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Dean, awesome. Fun as always.
Cool. Yes.
You need to come down and visit us. We're doing a live event down here first week in January. hang out with some cleaning business people for a couple days.
Very cool.
And also check my your email for our scale. I didn't hear back from you about scale.
I'm sorry. Part of my, I'm trying to remove myself from being the bottleneck. So one of those things is getting somebody else to handle my email.
Oh, okay.
I don't handle my own email anymore. So I'll make sure I mention it to them and they will dig that one up for me. So my apologies.
Yeah, no worries, Dean. I love that you have somebody else doing it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, we got to practice what we preach, right?
Right.
We got to do this stuff, so awesome.
So when are we going to be back?
It's going to be a while. Next Wednesday is Christmas. The one after that is New Year's. The one after that would put us on the 8th, and we're going to be in the first day of MCA Live. So I'm not going to be here, but I know that you will be, Liz. And who's our guest?
I can't remember. I sent it over yesterday.
It's going to be good, though. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be good, y'all. It's going to be all fresh New Year.
So we'll see you next year, okay? Take care,
Bye,
everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry
Take
Christmas.
care.